you just hit on a very important thing that I'm spending quite a lot of time thinking about lately, and I had a hint on it, and I never got a chance to do it. It's so there's a couple of things. One, I want to introduce you to a concept, the notion of the disinterested third party. You know, unlike your own employees, we don't know anything about the data that you store on at AWS. Same goes for Azure. Same goes for Facebook. Same goes for everybody, right? So by lacking the context, we quite often lack motivation to do damage. And you know, I think that there's an opportunity to have a conversation here about that particular notion, right? Is that maybe you get a higher level of security because we don't know anything about what's going on, right? Yeah. Right, right. So, yeah. So let me now let me introduce a second thing that I've been trying to think about is this notion of compliance by inclusion or by incorporation. So, for example, we can help you achieve like HIPAA compliance up to a certain point, say up to the hypervisor. Okay, we can do that, and we actually have a published white paper on how to do that. Then you need to do certain things in your applications on top of that, right? And so sort of by incorporation of what we've done plus what you've done, you can then achieve a certification or achieve a compliance. You know, we've made it a lot easier to see our SAS 70 report so you can see what the control objectives were and what the auditor's findings were. We'll do the same thing when the ISO 27001 certification is done. And again, that will be sort of a by inclusion method, right? One of the things that the challenges that we find is trying to educate these certification bodies on what does it mean to be compliant when you don't own the hard drive anymore. And we've actually gotten some traction in helping them think in new ways about what kind of language to use, what kind of legal agreements might need to be in place. So I suspect in the next 12 months you're going to see some solidification around that and some standards come up that'll help you be able to assert a level of certification more easily than you can now. And cloud audit, I think, is going to be a big push in helping get that done.
Just add one thing, and cloud is different things to different people too. I mean, you're the end user, so some of it's your responsibility, and there are other providers like not represented on the panel too, depending on where you go, who may offer a security service. You can sign up for their cloud service, and they will add on security, whether that's IDS monitoring or server patching or whatever the case may be. So that's not downplaying anyone here. But it's a choice that they go about, and you'll pay for it. So if you're looking to spend X dollars per month, you multiply that times 3 or 4, and there might be a provider that provides that. One that I work closely with, a good friend of ours, is Terramark, for example. They may have a service, but you're going to pay a premium for it. I mean, it might be night and day price difference. So if you're the small business or small consumer and you want all that in there, you're probably not going to be able to get that for the same price. You get a quick instant spun up of something.
Echo that with conversations I've had with people as they, maybe their site or whatever resources that they have has been attacked, and they're trying to recover from that. And again, we provide platform and infrastructure, and it's up to them to manage their applications, just like anywhere else. And often starting to talk about those types of services and the cost that would be associated with that, and they're like, they just like, are you kidding? I'm not spending that kind of money. And I'm like, okay, well, I'm not even trying to scare you. That's just, those are the kind of costs associated with the services that you're talking about there. And a lot of the times is, they're like, well, I thought you just, you did all of that. It was magic. And I'm like, no, it's very much not magic. It's still, you have an application, and it's you're responsible to manage your application and secure your application and your data. We're providing this slice of service, and it's not that anybody was trying to fool them that we were. It's just they had this idea that.
And I think we as providers need to double down our efforts to help customers know,
exactly
here are the things you still need to do, and here are some good resources you can go to. Yeah. I can't write your application securely, but if I can point you to some resources that can help you write secure applications, I think that's a service that's worth offering at no charge, of course.
And you know, from my perspective, I think one of the things in security we need to do a little bit better for not just job security, but in general, is any single time someone comes to you with a project, instead of resisting, no way, we're not going to do that, this is impossible, securing it's, blah, blah, blah. Great idea, IT guys, I love that. We'll look right into it and we'll get back to you, with the details. It's going to happen. I mean, it's like trying to secure mobile phones. I mean, they're going to happen regardless. So resisting it, I don't think is probably the best strategy. This is where the standards-based approach comment is.
Well, isn't rocket science actually pretty easy? You take a fuel and oxidizer and an ignition, put it in a container that has only one exit, you've got a rocket. It is actually, yeah. I think a lot of the standards already exist. They're called TCP, HTTP, and I know the joke. From my point of view, and I think it would be fair for all of the providers to be able to answer this. I don't want to monopolize here. We want to build a service so that it's as easy for you to exit as it is to enter. And so, if you decide you no longer want to use Amazon Web Services and you want to go to something else, we've got a data export function. Send us a hard drive, we'll send you your stuff, and we'll delete all of our copies of it. And for 20 terabytes, FedEx is faster than the internet right now. And we continue to look for ways that we can make it easy to get into and out of AWS. We don't want to do any form of lock-in whatsoever, because that just doesn't provide any value for anyone.
So I know for a fact, that Microsoft is pretty committed to this interoperability idea, and that we work with other partners in the industry to try to strive for that. Well, one example of that would be like our Geneva server. I don't know if people are familiar with that, but that's basically a secure token service. It's a claims-based model, which would then allow you to federate with your internal directory service and allow you to make claims based against whoever service you were using when it gets linked to the sort of open standards that are out there. So I know that our company is pretty committed to that model that you've espoused.
We, Rackspace just partnered with NASA on OpenStack and are kind of taking a shared approach. They kind of got together and I guess they were looking at doing a lot of the same things we were doing, which is a lot of the same things everybody is doing, and found that the languages we were writing in are the languages they were writing in, and a lot of the ideas were the same. And so as part of that, we open sourced our code for our storage backend for the Cloud Files backend, and they open sourced for their server management piece, the virtual server management piece. And so we'll be using that in kind of the next version of ours, and they're going to be using the data storage that we wrote, and continue to work on those. And then anybody can run that same backend. The data, the images would move, and it's all based on what kind of service you're getting from the company you're at as to where you keep it.
I think we got time for one more question, then somebody else has the room here. Go ahead.
So my question is more on using the cloud. How does a cloud provider prevent themselves from becoming the next bulletproof hosting provider? You guys all offer these great APIs and infrastructures to pretty much automate the creation of computer accounts and services, right? So what stops organized criminals from creating their little service? It runs for a little while. You have provisioning, obviously it says, you said earlier, you can only send so many emails. So I send X minus 1 email every day. I just migrate it over and over and over. I can't do IP reputation, can't really do domain reputation because it moves around. I'm not going to blacklist Amazon's cloud.
Lots of people blacklist clouds today. It happens all the time. Try and send mail.
So what's the solution from the guys using you guys like a bulletin post?
I mean, from our standpoint, I mean, we're definitely very reactive to any complaints of abuse. Doing some of the same things, you know, he talked about it, looking on the network layer, because our contract's the same way. You know, we don't look in the we're not looking at their data. We're not doing that kind of stuff.
You can detect patterns, especially.
You can pull in
over time.
reports.
Well, at the network, without looking at the actual images and what they're storing, you know, you start to get an idea of who they're communicating with. It depends on as you get anomalies that pop up. I mean, you know, you turn on a little bit heavier monitoring on certain pieces, but you're not actually looking at their data. So I don't know what they're transmitting, but who they're talking to and bursts of data, you know, at different times, and you start to kind of profile that, and you can see. So without invading privacy, you can start to get an idea. Right now, the state of things, it's very much like that.
Folks, we unfortunately are getting kicked out of the room at this point. We will reconvene at the bar later tonight if you have any questions for these folks, and we can whack this mole. Just a few more shirts here. Thank you for the